Yeah, the ending is really weird if you watch it for the first time, and even afterwards it's really confusing if you don't look up stuff or read about interpretations of the story.
You don't look the sort who can afford to turn
So yeah, in this DLC we play the Detective Booker DeWitt. You need to know that like Bioshock Infinite teaches the multi-universe theory. Like there are infinite universes with constants and variables. I forgot to say that at least. Constants are always the same. Like you always have Elizabeth and Booker.
Call me Elizabeth.
What can I do for you?
And the variables are things that always differ a bit. And here we are looking for Sally.
You'll see dozens of
And we see kind of Rapture while it was still in its good days, not already broken and
as I said,
not that nice anymore.
look, I don't know where you get
Lost isn't dead. Name your rate, I will pay you for this work. You do this one gratis, wouldn't you?
I don't follow.
Something tells me you will.
This DLC already changes some like gameplay elements. Not as much as the second one. I have to jump around here because you cannot for some reason jump directly down. First part of this DLC is mostly again about movement optimization. There's a lot of talking, cutscenes, stuff we know from the main game already. The second half again really picks up speed. Shows us a lot of skips, sequence breaks,
Funny.
and nice
You're not
stuff.
knowing about the little sisters. How long have you been in Rapture?
Well, let's just say I don't get out much.
You've got eyes and ears, don't you?
If I wanted to share my life story, Mr. DeWitt, I would write my memoirs. If I learned anything about Rapture, it was a place where people understood to mind their own business.
Where are we headed?
The man we need to see is in the Garden of the Muses.
How do you know?
My sources are my own, Mr. DeWitt. If you have better information as to the whereabouts...
Episode 2, as Proto just said, has a lot elevators in general. And the problem is that there are not really many skips yet. But there's some potential. He's been picking up the game
She was taken from
a couple of days ago and he's already gotten the world record. I've done 2 runs on it, I think. And he got the world record with his first runs, so you should definitely follow him if you're interested in seeing runs of the second DLC. I might come back to it, try to figure out some skips and stuff, because I think there is potential.
This world values children,
Yeah,
not child.
Verity 1 is already somewhat broken in parts.
Men who make it. I'm taking you to one of them.
Kinda was stuck there. But for a casual playthrough, this beginning is really pretty damn awesome, because you're only used to Rapture being in a bad state.
We're fine, thanks.
So our first goal is to get to Cohen's club here. Cohen is a really famous person from
My source
the first Bioshock. He's an artist and he's a really strange guy. And we'll see a lot of why he's so strange now in the first half of this run.
Mr. Cohen does not truck with private detectives. Masks of invitation went to artists and craftsmen alone.
I'm with the artist struggle. We're
No
expected.
mask, no entry.
Stuffed shirt.
These invitations.
So it's New Year's Eve, by the way, and
I guess we'll have
there's a party going on in Cohen's.
The business of Rapture is business.
And we want to get in there, but we need a mask for that.
Golden Rule and Rapture Records.
So we have to check 3 stores.
a place to start.
The mask will always be in the last store. So we just check the stores in the
Invitations
the order that is like the most logical and the fastest.
Think you can
We
figure
go
out a way
first go
start the
to
store on our way?
this one here.
You just find the mask.
You don't even need to look around in the shop, you just need to talk to the shop owner.
A man.
Really? Excuse me. Lady has some questions.
And you go to the next shop then.
I'm interested in this piece.
Excellent.
Did you look for the mask?
Didn't see one.
There's no other way to get
Sometimes the door is open, or most of the time the door is open, but not always. It's, I don't know what exactly causes it.
Give her the star treatment, pal. That'll make it worth your while.
But of course, right away.
And now we get to the third shop. Jump down here. Also, some NPC spawns are somewhat random. There are a couple of patterns there. Sometimes there can be a man in the way, and it wastes maybe like half a second or so if you have to walk around him.
Help out the little lady?
Yes, of course.
And here's the mask we've been looking for.
It's by Trine.
We can now use to get into cones.
I must go. Even one more note.
This door sometimes is a bit weird, like collision-wise, or not collision-wise, but trigger-wise. Sometimes you have to run right in front of it to be able to trigger it. I think it depends on the angle.
All right.
Ah, very
It's
well.
best we head back to
Mr. Cohen
Cohen's.
awaits your participation at his performance.
In here we can't really run. We can just jump. Or no, we can walk, but walking is slow. Jumping is faster.
An underworld figure?
Worse. He's an artist.
An artist who kidnaps children.
Cohen's muse is a bit more diverse. I've seen this type. Gets an idea in his head.
Which is kind of unfortunate because Elizabeth can get in your way here, which wastes a bit of time. This DLC is pretty optimized compared to the main game. The main game I could probably shave off 1 minute or something with more practice and de-rust. I just got a good runner's head again. But this DLC could maybe be improved by 10 to 15 seconds only. So here we meet Cohen, who's, yeah, kind of a desperate, crazy artist. He has his own vision of life and things. And if people don't act like he wants, or even if they do, but he always finds a reason to punish people.
There shall be no failure on my canvas. There's no room in rapture.
Clearly has a really good capability of drawing pictures.
Who are you?
Name's DeWitt.
Is that right? My. This one's a real biscuit. Isn't he a biscuit, lady?
Need to ask a few questions.
Questions? Yes. Yes. It is the work of man to ask. It is the work of the artist to answer.
You've seen this girl, haven't you?
We artists see more than most. You are more than you claim to be.
By the way, this is the longest cutscene. This is even longer than main game cutscenes together. The two long ones.
She'll take you where you don't want to go.
Afterwards, gameplay is really quick and fluent.
Photo is important to you. So many children flit, flit, flit away. I know.
Bob Ross. Owen Ross. Oh, that would be
I will send you to her in exchange.
bad talk about Bob Ross.
Is a dance.
What?
Oh no, he wants us to dance. I have a feeling that that might not be a good idea.
Show me who you are, and I will show you where you need to
Listen,
go.
Cohen, you son of a bitch.
Mr. DeWitt,
What?
dance with me.
Come, come, dance.
I shudder to think what greater price he might care to extract.
Fitzpatrick! Beauty and pain. They can be no more separated than birth and blood.
What do you think Cohen's customers do with the children? Do they?
Sometimes. But those types lack the capital of people like Ryan and Suchong.
That's a blessing.
You saw those little sisters? You so sure? But if Suchong had Sally, I'd know it.
How?
As I tied him to a chair and asked him
So?
for 15 hours.
I don't know what to make of you, Mr. DeWitt.
No!
Listen, we're not gonna keep...
Fitzpatrick!
As I said earlier, there are some gameplay changes. You can have more than 2 main weapons at the same time. You can switch between them using a selection wheel, which appears if you hold down the F button or the use button, which is also pretty convenient for the final fight. So if you're out of ammo, you usually have some more ammo for other weapons. We'll come to that in a bit.
Mr. DeWitt! Mr. DeWitt! Are you alright?
I'm fine.
You were dreaming. You kept saying your daughter's name, Sally.
She's not my daughter.
So now we have been sent down to the not so nice part of Rapture. It's kind of a bit similar to Bioshock 1. Even though you still explore some new areas and get some new vigors. It's interesting, like how the skyhooks from the main game are called air hooks or something, and in the main game we had the sky grabber, I think. Was it called like that? I'm not sure, but it's now called air grabber. I might be wrong, but it's called very similarly. It's basically the same gameplay mechanic from the main game, just named differently.
Look,
Fontaine's. Ryan sent the whole thing to the bottom.
but it's a prison now. Why would Cohen have sent Sally there?
I don't know.
Everyone has needs. I merely provide a service for those who have the means to pay. You'll find your little bird in the housewares department.
How many people do you suppose Ryan's got locked up in that place?
Enough. Fontaine had amassed something near an army. Now they're down there, spliced up and wild. Alright, there's a dock up ahead.
So once we arrive here at the docks, things
Takes a cold son
will
of a
happen
bitch to do that to a living person.
very quickly. We can skip the whole air grabber cutscene that is taking place in the beginning. You do not even need to pick up the air grabber. You'll see that. And we are playing on hard.
Keep your eyes open.
I'll explain in a second why. But you've seen no enemies yet, and that's why we can easily start on hard.
Call me Booker.
If it's all the same to you, let's leave it at Mr. DeWitt.
So there is a jump you need to do here too.
Look up there.
Can be tough. Oh my god, come on. And now we can just jump over this gate. Usually there would be a skyhook or air hook or whatever you would need to get up to, and then there are enemies appearing and the water is freezing, blah blah blah, but we don't need that.
Jeez, I guess around 51.
So now there are enemies here,
It's a rather large.
and we want to kind of abuse the mechanics from the main game, like the death warp thing, but we don't have any weapons to damage ourselves, so why don't we just do it manually? And it's a really cool skip, which I need to focus for a moment.
Just keep your eyes open for splice.
It's like 20 seconds, but I really like it. So we kill this woman because she has a weapon, gun, and get damaged by these guys. Alright, that's enough. Now we get to this door. And we jump backwards through that door. It's not main and medium. Now we switch to easy, since the other fights would be too hard, obviously, on hard.
Get up.
But yeah, we can take much damage much more quickly by playing on hard in the beginning.
You want to thank me? Next time, try.
There's a like almost frame perfect early jump to the hook here. Really rough though, like really hard to get. Now there's an out of bounds with a pretty stupid skip, which I got first try. Like it's, you have to kind of abuse the collision system again of this game engine, and you can kind of get on top of the wall there, but it's really inconsistent usually. or it was really inconsistent until I figured out that using iron sights kind of messes with collision again, and you can get up there very, like, much more consistently, I would say. I'm like 60% consistent for it. And this way you can just skip the whole ice area where you get the ice vigor, or however it's called in Bioshock 1.
Joining the Andrew Ryan book club, you'd be right.
This was a skip that's pretty old already. I'm not sure who found it. Might have been Stoic Squirrel. Not sure. But this, like, if you fail that skip, for example, 2 times, run is over. So,
Took her somewhere
quite some resets can happen there, and there's no 100% consistent setup for it. My method is, for me, like 60-70% consistent.
Yeah, and here we are. But the million-dollar question is, what's she to you?
I'm pretty precise.
Reuniting you with her. Isn't that reason enough?
So now we get to an area where we have to, where we think that Sally is going to be, and
I can only imagine what they would
we
do with a child.
think that she's going to be inside the vents.
Probably thought putting a
But there are a lot of exits from the, like, venting system,
Find her the better.
so we just close all the vents except for one and turn up the heat in the end. We kill this guy. We've seen Sally there get inside the vent. Sometimes Elizabeth can be a bit stubborn here
I can't see her.
and not walk to this point right away. Now we have a bit of time to loot stuff here because this is all timed, and I've tried to do the manual, like the backwards death jump, whatever, through the next door, but it doesn't work, unfortunately, for some reason.
If she's in there,
I think it has to do with the respawn points.
come out of. Now there are 5. All these vents are connected to the central heating unit. If we close them off and turn the heat up, she'll be forced out through the central exhaust. It's the only exit.
Okay, now I use like a visual cue here to throw a fire trap right as the door opens,
Or one of those splicers will.
which will kill pretty much all the enemies except for one guy. This one I'll just kill with the last shot, and I'll grab his ice vigor.
2 down. Where to now?
Come on. Which we'll need for the final fight to stun the Big Daddy. Buying some shotgun ammo here, and meleeing this woman while jumping down. We were not lucky there with the spawn position of these guys. Here, lucky they stand, or usually they... Come on. What? How did you not die? Usually they stand in line, so you can kill them very quickly before the other enemies notice, or the game notices that the fight has started, and that way you can close the vent before killing those 2 guys which are standing behind the counter there. So here I'm using another visual cue, which is more precise. Which hopefully, yeah, worked.
Okay, next one.
Shoot this guy. Kill this woman. Now there's going to be these guys coming at us. And if we kill them without going far enough into the room, we can trigger this vent without killing the turret or destroying the turret.
There should be one more.
Standing around here. Didn't even notice us. Notice us. Here's the next vent. We close.
Sally, it's me, Booker.
Now we buy some more shotgun ammo.
Sally?
Actually, no, we don't buy shotgun ammo, but we buy Tommy ammo.
Now listen, dear. You come out right now.
Mr. DeWitt, she's not coming. Now let's get the rest of these vents sealed. It's the only way.
And close this vent.
It's the last one.
Where's the exhaust?
In the toy department.
So the spawns in this room are somewhat random. Which can be a problem.
Don't make me.
Especially if you don't have ammo for the shotgun.
Locked from the other side. How the hell?
Look,
Elizabeth, pathfinding.
I think I can squeeze through. Give me a boost.
And now is a really finicky trick throw. At the door. Hopefully it worked. Should have.
Do it.
Yeah. If you don't get that throw correctly,
Speak for yourself.
you have to do a pretty stupid fight that can waste like 30 seconds. A lot of enemies, but if you fire that trap or place that trap correctly, then you will kill all the enemies.
All right, let me go check the exhaust vent.
Oh, this is the last vent. Now we just need to turn up the
Looks like we need to turn
thermostat.
up the thermostat if we're gonna flush her out. It's over that way.
Getting inside here. We have a bit of time to loot here.
Not going to burn.
Now we're standing right against this thing. Making Elizabeth spawn behind us, hopefully. Yep, she did. Right before this thermostat.
Goddamn thermostat.
If you want. She can be do some random stuff. So this is working out not too terribly, I think.
We need to get back to the exhaust before we lose the girl again.
Grab some ammo here if we need it. Okay, we already have full ammo. And now is coming up the final fight with the good old Big Daddy.
She's coming.
It isn't working. Turn
If
it
we
off.
turn it off, it's not gonna
We
work.
have to turn it off. We are hurting her.
She's coming out here.
Sally.
But Big Daddy doesn't want us to take her away from him.
Sally, come on. I'm gonna get you out of here. Sally.
So the strategy for the final fight is just stun the Big Daddy, then using the Patriot, which we can make like a spawn, and just pump our magazines into him. And you don't want to get like thrown around by the Big Daddy, which can be a big problem. So this is kind of RNG dependent, this fight. Liz should throw you salts like that, so you can stun this Big Daddy just right there. And now we just use some more stuns and Tommy gun ammo. And this should end the fight in a second. That's it. Now we just
Mr. DeWitt, the girl.
wait for the final trigger, and it's pretty much almost time. 23:14, no loads.
It's okay, Sally.
World record is 22:11. I'm not sure, something like that. A minute faster, I guess.